The transfer portal and NIL have changed college football forever, as players have free reign to transfer to any school without any regulation or repercussion. On top of that, you're able to go and get paid at each of these schools. I have former NFL running back Dana Sanders joining me to discuss how the transfer portal and NIL may have ruined college football, including the short and long-term effects of the portal and NIL, the benefits, and more. See you on the other side. I am joined by former NFL running back Dana Sanders. Dana, as we see the effects of the transfer portal and NIL starting to show, discuss how these things may have ruined college football.
Who is God? And the God that runs this realm is the God of money. I mean, people will do anything for money. And so we're in a position where we're going down to like the lowest denominator to give money to kids who really don't know what to do with it. You know, so it's about controlling the people. And when you control at that level, because at my age, it can't control me anymore. I'm old school. I understand how money works. I understand how to move it around and hang on to it. A young kid like you, I'm not saying you personally, but
no,
you don't understand.
If you give all that money to a kid at 18, you got to think about where their minds are at. You're at that time fresh out of high school. All you're thinking of, I mean, shit, I could tell you my mind at 18. All I was thinking about was kind of like, I don't know, you're just trying to level up. And if you could get $100,000 at 18, you're just going to go blow it all because you don't know what you weren't taught. I mean, unless you were sitting here seriously taught financial education on how to deal with all this money and what to do with it, you're just going to go out and fucking spend it. That's the truth of it.
Right. And you don't value the money. You won't value anything that's basically given to you. I think it leads kids down a path of entitlement. Just because you can run, like I ran, well, my best 40 was a 4.34. And I ran a 4.34 at a combine in Dallas.
How much you weigh?
I was 220 then. I was a linebacker.
4.34.
4.34 was my fastest 40, but then I was more consistent around 4.42, 4.43. But I think, I got lucky and hit a 4.34 at the right time.
Yeah.
But I never ran it again. That was just one time I ran that.
Yeah, I hear you.
But the thing about that is that this whole transfer portal, if you're a kid and you don't have the abilities that say you're average, you're going to get caught in that portal. You're going to get left. Right. You can't. I mean, who's going to want you when all the big time players, the guys that have all the talent, are the ones getting the big contracts, and then you're going to have all these kids that jump into the portal and go nowhere. They're out of college now, so now they're getting paid, so they're professional. And I don't, can you go back and forth? I don't know, but they'll just sit in the portal and never go anywhere. So I think that's
4,000 kids in the portal right now. I don't know if you know that. There's almost 4,000 kids in the transfer portal right now.
You're kidding me.
Oh yeah, and you know how many schools there are. So some kids that are in there are going to get left out, or they're going to have to find another route. You know what I'm saying? Whether that's, they can look at junior college if that's still, it's still a thing. But it's a dying entity. Ultimately, I think college football is junior college, with the quick turnarounds, the fluctuation of players. You're bringing, 2 years removed from when you started, you're going to have a whole different roster. So that's something to consider as well. Now, the negatives of the portal and, the NIL are glaring. Now, I want you to describe some of the benefits because ultimately there's a lot of people who in your position when you played would have wanted something like this in some form. Can you describe the benefits of this at all?
Well, I think the benefits of the portal is that you do get compensated for the time. Because if you're a college athlete, the commitment there. I mean, when I was at Michigan State, we practiced during the season, but during the off season, we had to keep up our regiment. Every morning, we had to go run, 4 miles at the stadium, before class. Yep. Some days he'd cut us slack. Well, no, I'm sorry. We do 8 laps around, then we had to do sprints. And sometimes we would just do what they call a 30-minute run. We'd have to run 30 minutes nonstop, and we still had to keep our grades. We still had to go to study hall. If you're under a 3-point, you had to go to study hall. You had to get a tutor, all this stuff, So
and I had to get a tutor when I played. They made me no matter what my grades were.
Yeah, we did too. Yeah, if you fell below a certain point, man, you got to get that tutor.
Exactly.
You want to keep you eligible.
You gotta,
But I'm
yeah.
just
You
go ahead.
mentioned it. It's a work. It's work. You're going from 5 a.m. to 10 p.m. every day.
Yeah.
That's including class, workouts, practice, etc.
Meetings,
Meetings, exactly.
position meetings. Then you have group meetings. Then, you have,
Hours of meetings. Oh yeah.
yeah,
Games,
offense,
all that
defense
shit. Yeah.
meetings.
hmm
Yeah. So it's a job. And I understand they should be compensated for that. But the compensation should, I think, match their ability. I mean their mental state too,
hmm
because you don't give a kid, 10 million, 7 million, $4 million. No,
Yeah.
you compensate them where they can go out and eat. Because when I was at Michigan State, my mother could send me $20, and that would last me. But if it was over $20, man, you'd get a strike, and they can get rid of you for that.
Really.
So, these guys, I think they should be compensated something, but not something they can retire on,
hmm
because then they'll never understand the value of money and the value that they bring to the table.
True. No, I
So the
agree.
moment because you can build your life with all these great things,
hmm
and your ego gets up here. I mean, it gets to the sky, and all of a sudden, when you no longer your possessions, then who are you?
hmm
These kids like, okay, I had $10 million or $5 million when I was in college. Now I'm 24. I can't play football anymore. I'm done. What am I going to do now? I don't want to work for minimum wage. After
hmm
I made 20 or millions of dollars, I'm not going to do minimum wage. So
hmm
I think you cripple the kids mentally. But that's just where I come from, because I look at the mindset and how people need to control their own lives, and they're removing their ability to go through something and understand how to use their mental capacity to figure out a situation and
hmm
come out on the other end.
No, that's very well said. I totally agree with you. And so you mentioned some of the positive effects. You mentioned some of the negative effects. So as the transfer portal is the wild, wild west, and you can essentially transfer at free will, go get money at each of these schools, etc. Are there any changes that you would implement to the current system now that you think that would, make it a better system for the future? Are there any things that you would implement that would, make it a better system than what we have right
With NIL,
now? NIL and transfer portal.
what I would do is put it in the hands of the parents,
hmm
you know, and have it to the point where the parents get compensated for their child until that kid's at a certain age. It would be the NIL would be money set aside for them that they would not have access. They get access maybe to 10% of that money. And then they have to prove, like in the NFL, we have meetings. When I first signed with Detroit, you go to this meeting for a week and they tell you, what's going to happen. People are going to come after you for money. You're going to want to buy this. You're going to want to buy all these, gold and silver, all that stuff. Well, there
Yeah.
need to be classes and something where they're taught to understand the value of what they're making, because it's not going to always be there. And I'm going to tell you, this system is designed to hold you back when it comes to making money. It's not easy
How
to make
so?
money in the United States.
How
If
so?
you
How is
come,
it designed to hold you back? I'm curious.
huh?
How do you view that it holds you back from making money?
It holds you back because, okay, for instance, let's say I'm a good athlete. I play football, and because of my size, my strength, and my speed, I
Mhm.
get paid.
Right.
So I get paid to use my body
Mhm.
and my mind to understand plays and so on. But once I can no longer use my body, and now I don't have a background in engineering or any type of a profession that I can go to and say, okay, now I'm going to be good at this.
Mhm.
It cripples you from that. You've got to grow up and understand how to deal with adversity first,
Mhm.
and that throwing money at it's not going to always fix it. It's just a temporary fix, because anything you can fix with money is not a true problem.
I think you make a
So
great point because
yeah.
there's a phrase that, I was always told when I was playing, and I'm sure you were, football is not forever. And so I
Mhm.
think when these kids get paid, they think, oh shit, I'm the next big thing. I'm going to be playing this game forever, 10 plus years in the league. Because when you get that money at 18, you're thinking, I just got $100,000 at 18 and I haven't even taken a snap of college football. That could only mean that I'm the next big thing and I'm going to the league. I think you make
I'm
a great
telling you.
point with that.
Well, a lot of times kids don't understand that when you're in high school, you're the best. So then you get a chance to go to college and play with the best.
Mm-hmm.
But then out of college, you play with the best of the best when you get to the NFL. So just because you were good in high school, you were better in college, the NFL is a whole different ball game.
True.
So I don't see how they can compare. See, well, I don't know how they can compare a kid that is in college and hasn't played against the old school Mean Joe Green or played against, what's the guy for the Rams? The hell of a D lineman.
Which one? Younger or older? Aaron Donald?
Older guy. He's about ready to go. He's in his 30s now.
Aaron Donald?
Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Hey, you know, what are you going to do when you face him? You ain't going to face that in college.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
exactly.
And when Lawrence Taylor played, you didn't face that in college.
They're one of one. That's the reason they're in the league.
So this is a temporary thing. And I think this is hard on the family dynamic, because if you're allowing a kid to make a certain amount of money and they make more than their parents, who's the boss in the house now?
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
And so that's why I think everything should be held with the parents or put in trust, someplace where they have access to this money at certain amount of times at certain ages, instead of just giving them all this money at one time. I think it should be put in a trust that they can only take a certain amount of money out, and it's designed that way per year, like 25,000 or something like that, so they can learn.
Really smart. Put it in a trust, because then you can't do shit. You can't do it until you have to work for it. You know what I'm saying? That's where we're seeing the issue, because they're getting the bag before they actually do anything.
Right.
So
that's there.
If you had it in a trust, you would have to go work for it, essentially improve your work, or else, hey,
and that'll motivate you to work, because then you can get to your trust, or have it set up where when you earn a certain amount that I can see on a tax return, well, you don't have to that well. Anyway, when you earn a certain amount, then this amount of money gets unlocked to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's got to be another system. It's just throwing all this money, because then that's what's going to kill the family dynamic. Because, you know, as a parent, if my son was making more money than me and I told him to go clean his room, and he looked at me like, nah, you go clean my room. I don't want to pay the rent last month, you know. So
yeah,
I'm like, no, it ain't gonna work that way.
Exactly. So that's where it disrupts family dynamic. You have a hell of a point there. We'll see as we go forward whether any of the higher ups actually come down and lay down some framework and rules with this. Right now, it's very unregulated, and kids have a lot of free reign to do whatever they want, and that's how they wanted it. So ultimately, we'll see as time goes on. My final question for you. You described on the Coach JB show in your interview last week that, you know, kids now are playing for money instead of playing for the love of the game, as, you know, someone like you and JB and others did. Talk about that further.
Well, if you look at the history of football in the NFL, when it first started, guys had to have two jobs. Mm-hmm. Even in the 70s, you get paid a certain amount of money, and then you would still go get a part-time job. When I signed with Detroit, I signed for $40,000, and then I got a $6,500 bonus. That's it, and that was back in '83. But I would even play now because I just love the game. Mm-hmm. I love the contact, and people that play the game and play it well are the ones that love it. They don't money will come, and that's in anything you do. If you love what you do, the money will follow you. Don't chase the money. Let the money chase you, because you create a certain energy. When you create that energy of a positive attitude, and you have a good, strong heart and a good mental mindset, then you can basically meditate and bring that the outcome that you want into your life. That money will follow you. Mm-hmm. And that's where it is. And the kids don't understand that. And I feel that that's what the NCAA, the NFL, the government is robbing these young kids of. They've got to be able to understand where they are, who they are, and learn how to deal with it. And they don't know how yet. And so they're hitting them at a very young age, and they can, you know, like the Jesuits said, you give me a kid from the age of 0 to 7, and I can show you the man. Mm-hmm. And that way they up until 7, what you do is you are basically a recorder. You watch and you learn just by being around people. Mm-hmm. And after that, you learn through repetition.
Let us know whether you think the transfer portal and NIL has ruined college football in the comments below. If you like the channel, please be sure to like the video, hit that subscribe button if you are new, and don't forget to turn on post notifications so you don't miss any content from Bailey Price Media. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next one.